Todd Chrisley's ex-daughter-in-law, Alexis Wilby, just leaked a voicemail of him being rude and even kind of racist to her.
That they would not protect you and your other partners in crime.
Allegedly, Todd sent Alexis's voicemail, as well as some others, because she talked to the Department of Revenue about him and Julie. In the voicemail, he said some really scary and threatening things.
No, darling, you don't need protection, you need an attorney.
And some of the things he said even came across as pretty racist. I mean, listen to this part.
Call your brothers.
I feel like there is definitely an implication there that wasn't exactly appropriate. The way he said brothers definitely made me pause. This is obviously just awful, but it gets worse. In the voicemail, you can also hear Todd threatening Alexis that he will get some of her money.
Because I'm coming to get my part of it.
Todd accuses her of having a fake trust, and he also talks about how she probably hasn't paid her attorney. He has some pretty shady things to say about her, but then he says this.
It's not a vendetta, it's about holding people accountable.
I'm not really sure if that's actually true. A lot of the voicemail definitely made it sound like it was a vendetta, but there's actually even more to this story than this. And the other details don't make Todd look much better at all. Listen closely because this is seriously insane. The fact that Todd allegedly sent Alexis those voicemails is pretty shocking for a lot of reasons. But I think the main one is that he was being kind of racist to Alexis. This would already be awful on its own. Racism is obviously never acceptable. But in this case, it's especially terrible because until he went to prison, he was raising his granddaughter Chloe, who is biracial. It's crazy that he would use these microaggressions when he had Chloe at home. Obviously, this voicemail was sent to Alexis before Todd and Julie went to prison. That being said, Alexis only came forward with them recently, and there's more. Some old tweets that Todd made about Alexis have also recently resurfaced, and they show even more of Todd's horrible treatment of his ex-daughter-in-law. Alexis was married to Kyle Chrisley from 2014 to 2018. And if it wasn't obvious, she's a black woman. She and Kyle are, of course, no longer together. And she clearly doesn't have a very good relationship with most of the Chrisleys. She's recently been speaking out more about the bullying and racism she faced from Todd. It's all pretty horrible. But what makes it even worse is that most of this actually happened while she was still technically part of the family. I mean, we all know that Todd and Kyle don't exactly have the most straightforward relationship. They were even estranged. And Kyle and Alexis played a pretty big role in Todd and Julie getting into legal trouble. But it's still crazy to think that Todd basically bullied the wife of his son. And the fact that he used racist language to insult her is just disgusting. Especially since, at this point, Chloe had already been born. Chloe was born in 2012. The tweets that Todd made about Alexis were from 2014 and 2015, and the voicemails were from 2017, so there's really no excuse. Then again, there wouldn't really be any excuse either way, because racist bullying is never okay. When Alexis opened up about Todd's behavior, she had this to say. To see a grown man and public figure who is the grandfather to a beautiful black child say those horrible things was shocking. I endured the bullying comments for years in silence, but karma dealt with it so I didn't have to. I definitely understand where she was coming from when she said this. What Todd said to her in the voicemail was really awful, and his tweets were disgusting too. The most ironic tweet of them all is probably the one that Todd shared in 2014. He alleged that Alexis was trying to get $20,000 from his family. Supposedly she told Todd that if he didn't give her the money, she would tell the press that they were racist. Alexis obviously denied ever saying this, but either way, I think it's just kind of ridiculous that Todd tweeted that. He basically implied that they definitely weren't racist, and if Alexis ever said that they were, it would be because she was trying to get money from them. That's a pretty bizarre thing to put out there, especially given what he wrote on Twitter just a year later in 2015. Todd mentioned Alexis by name in his tweet and told her to stop being silly. Then he also called her fame-seeking and said that she was a working girl, if you know what I mean. In another tweet, he said that Alexis was a weave-wearing, ashy-skinned working girl, and that's when the racism really kicked in. I mean, it's crazy to me that he was all defensive just a year before he tweeted this. It's just so inappropriate. And again, let's not forget that Chloe was about 3 years old at this point. I honestly just feel really sorry for her, and I feel sorry for Alexis as well, because no one should have to deal with comments like these. I think it's pretty obvious that Todd had a lot of issues with Alexis, but he definitely didn't have to treat her like this and bully her in voicemails and online. It's especially awful and irresponsible that he did all this as someone with a large platform. When someone with Todd's following says things like this, it's not just awful because of his own actions, but also because he's kind of inviting others to join in and write similar comments, which is not okay at all, and it could be really dangerous. I mean, Alexis clearly struggled with Todd's comments a lot, and I'm glad that she's speaking out about it, even if it's been a couple of years since this happened. Like I said, Todd allegedly sent that voicemail as well as some others to Alexis in 2017. This was after she and Kyle talked to the Georgia Department of Revenue about Todd's supposed offshore accounts. Obviously, Todd didn't like this at all, so he decided to send Alexis those voicemails. He actually referenced the meetings Alexis and Kyle had with the Georgia DOR in the voicemail. And he also brought up an email in which Alexis supposedly said that she needed protection. This was when he told her that she didn't need protection, but she needed an attorney. He then also told her to call her brothers, which definitely seemed like another somewhat racist remark. Obviously, there was a lot of context missing from the voicemail that was released. Plus, there were reportedly more voicemails, so I feel like even more was said back then, but we don't know exactly what else happened. Either way though, from what we do know, Todd definitely didn't treat Alexis right. I understand that he had some issues with her, and I'm not saying that he should have loved her or anything like that. It's okay to not like someone, and it's fine that he and Alexis didn't exactly get on. The problem isn't that. The problem is how Todd chose to go about all this. Instead of confronting her like an adult, he started calling her names and using language that is just never okay. He wasn't just racist, he was also misogynistic. And overall, none of the things he allegedly said in the voicemail and tweeted were okay. Plus, like I said, the fact that he was raising Chloe before he and Julie went to prison just makes all of this even worse. I mean, if Chloe ever finds out about this, imagine how she would feel. And let's be real, there's a high chance that she will find out about this, since it's all over the internet. I just feel really awful for her. But what do you guys think? Were you shocked by Todd's comments? What do you think about Alexis speaking out about it now? Let me know in the comments below.